Good morning, students. Welcome to today's English class. Today we'll be discussing a chapter from your honeysuckle book, that is Taro's Reward. This story is a Japanese story and it gives us a moral lesson. So, Taro's Reward, what does the title signify? Taro is the name of a woodcutter. He is the central character of the story. The chapter tells us the story of Taro, who is a very kind and thoughtful son. So, reward. What do you mean by reward? Reward means something given to somebody because he has done something good or worked hard. So, here Taro gets a reward at the end of the chapter. Now, we will discuss why did he get the reward, what has he done, and we'll know about him and his family. So, this is a story about a thoughtful and loving son. He works hard to fulfill his parents' wishes and gets some unexpected help. Now, this story is a story about a son who is Taro. What kind of son is he? He is a thoughtful. He is a thoughtful means one who thinks about others, one who is sensitive towards the needs of others, and he is a loving son. He works very hard, as we know that he is a woodcutter and he earns very little amount of money, but he works very hard so that he can earn more and he can fulfill his parents each and every wish. And at the in the middle of the story we'll know that he gets unexpected help from unexpected help. We do not know the source who helps him. It's a mystery, so we'll discuss. A young woodcutter named Taro lived with his mother and father on a lonely hillside. So, on a lonely hillside, Taro lived. He lived with his mother and father. That means Taro is the only son of his parents. He is a young woodcutter. He is unmarried, and we are not told that he whether he has any siblings or not. Possibly he is all alone. All day long he chopped wood in the forest. Though he worked very hard, he earned very little money. So throughout the day he used to chop wood. Chopping means cutting into pieces. He used to, as he was a woodcutter, he used to chop wood in the forest and used to sell that chopped wood in the market. But despite of working very hard, he gets only very little amount, because we know that the cost of wood is very low in the market. It is not very expensive. This made him sad, for he was a thoughtful son and wanted to give his old parents everything they need. Now, when he used to earn very meager amount of money, very less amount of money, he used to be very sad because because that amount of money was not sufficient to fulfill all the needs of his parents. Okay, and his parents were old. They were dependent on Taro. They didn't earn. The father was very old. He couldn't do anything, and Taro wanted to fulfill their wishes, and Taro wanted that he could provide them everything they need, as he was a thoughtful son. One evening, when Taro and his parents were sitting in a corner of their hut, a strong wind began to blow. Now, we are told about one particular evening when Taro was sitting with his parents in the corner of their hut. As we know that since he is a woodcutter, he is very poor and they live in a hut. So, at that time, a strong wind began to blow. It whistled through the cracks of the hut and everyone felt very cold. As they were poor, the hut of Taro had cracks on it. And when the wind began to blow, the wind whistled through the cracks of the hut. Whistle means pass through with a whistling sound. As the wind was passing through the cracks of the hut, it produced a sound, and this sound was similar to that of a whistle. As a whistle produces a sound, similarly the wind was the wind was producing a sound when it was passing through the cracks of the hut. As the wind was passing, everyone felt very cold. Suddenly, Taro's father said, "I wish I had a cup of sake. It would warm me and do my old heart good." Sake. Now, Taro's father wishes that it would have been better if he would have got a cup of sake. Now, sake is a Japanese popular drink. We all know that in cold countries, people often drink many things. Like in winter season, we often drink tea in order to keep us warm. Similarly, he wants a cup of sake in order to keep him warm, and he says that this sake would warm him and also will be good for his heart. That means he will feel good by drinking that sake. This made Taro sadder than ever, For the heartwarming drink called sake was very expensive. Now Taro was a very loving, caring, thoughtful son. He was very kind-hearted. He was very sensitive towards the need of his parents. And when he heard his father saying, wishing for a cup of sake, he feels very bad. He feels very sad because sake was very expensive and his income is very low. How do I earn more money? He asked himself. How do I get a little sake for my poor old father? He decided to work harder than before. Now he asked himself. He kept on thinking, how can he earn more money so that he can fulfill the wish of his father of drinking a cup of sake. And he decided to work harder so that if he will work hard, he will get more wood and he will get more money. Next morning, Taro jumped out of bed earlier than usual and made his way to the forest. Now, the next morning, Taro jumped out of bed means he woke up earlier than usual. For example, if he wakes up at 7 o'clock in the morning every day, that day he woke up at 6 o'clock. That means 6 a.m. in the morning. He woke up earlier than usual and went to the forest. He chopped and cut as the sun climbed, and soon he was so warm that he had to take off his jacket. Now he kept on chopping the wood as was his duty, as was his work. He used to chop and cut wood every day, and he was cutting the wood into pieces as the sun was climbing. The sun climbed means as the sun was shining more brighter with the passage of the time, and because of shining sun, Taro felt very hot. Taro felt he became so very warm because the sun was shining bright and he was cutting and chopping wood regularly. So he had to take off his jacket because it became very hot. His mouth was dry and his face was wet with sweat. My poor old father, he thought, if only he was as warm as I. Now his mouth was dry, his face was wet with sweat, he was feeling very hot, and he says that I'm feeling hot here, but my father, who is not able to do any work, who is very old, is feeling cold at my hut. He is not able to warm himself. So he wishes if instead of him, his father had felt that much warmth. And with that he began to chop even faster, thinking of the extra money he must earn to buy the sake to warm the old man's bones. Now thinking that, he began to chop faster, even more faster, so that he will get more wood and he will get extra money, and from that extra money he will buy a sake for his father, which will warm up the bones of his father. Then suddenly Taro stopped chopping. What was that sound he heard? Could it possibly be rushing water? Then suddenly Taro stopped. Why did Taro stop? Because he heard a sound, okay, as if water is flowing. So he said to himself, is that the sound of rushing water? What was the sound that he heard? Can it be because in that part of the forest there was no source of any water? Taro could not remember ever seeing or hearing a rushing stream in that part of the forest. Now Taro has never heard about a forest in that part. In that forest, he has not heard about any stream. He has not seen any stream. He was thirsty. The axe dropped out of his hands and he ran in the direction of the sound. But as he was feeling thirsty, he dropped the axe and he ran in that direction in order to find out whether there is any stream or not. Taro saw a beautiful little waterfall hidden behind a rock. Kneeling at a place where the water flowed quietly, he cupped a little in his hands and put it to his lips. Now he saw a beautiful little waterfall which was hidden behind a rock. So he kneeled at that place where the water flowed. He cupped a little means took some water in his hands and put it to his lips, means he started drinking that water. Was it water or was it sake? Now the what was it? Was it water or was it sake? How can sake flow through a stream? It is very rare because it is water which flow through a stream. But what did he drink? He tasted it again and again, and always it was the delicious sake instead of cold water. He tasted that drink again and again, and every time he tasted it, he found it to be delicious sake and not cold water. So in this way, he went to the forest with an aim of making more money, with an aim of earning extra money so that he can fulfill his father's wish. Then he gets a stream which from which instead of water sake flows. So we'll continue in the next class, the second part of the chapter.